The following podcast is a little fiery but mostly peaceful. If you're an automaton, turn away now and shelter in place. If you're a Catholic ready to renew your prescriptions of red pills and white pills, stay tuned. Greetings and welcome to Catholics Aren't Zombies, episode 20. Can you believe we've gotten this far? Wow. Do you guys remember this old concept, and it turned into a little bit of an internet cult? This old concept, it's an acronym. Don't know if anybody uses it anymore. MGTOW. Do you guys remember MGTOW? I kind of wonder what happened to it, if anybody really, thinks along the lines of MGTOW anymore. Oh, okay, some of you don't know what I'm talking about. You're probably wondering, what in the world is that? Sounds like some kind of Native American tribe. No, it's MGTOW, and it's an acronym. It abbreviates Men Going Their Own Way. MGTOW. So what is that? What is Men Going Their Own Way, MGTOW? What is that all about? Going their own way. Well, I guess the first question you have to ask within the Catholic context, the Catholic framework, is, well, would men going their own way ever be construed as going God's way? Because I guess what I think of immediately, or what draws to my mind, is that there could indeed be a conflict. A lot of times, they say that the fastest way to make God laugh is to tell him your plans. Kind of sounds like if you were a man going your own way, whatever that really means, it may in fact be just another version of telling God your plans and just waiting for him to laugh them down. And you guys have heard me talk about before, I'm not a big fan of 5-year plans, 10-year plans, setting out your own little fancy course where you're going to go and wing it all on your own with your own brand of self-determinism. A lot of times this is a jolly bunch of bullcrap. But I want to be fair to the concept of MGTOW, as I'm actually not totally hostile to the gentlemen who do this. There are some good folks. I'm aware of a gentleman by the name of Bernard Chapin, who wrote a pretty good book on it. He's actually gone and done it a very sensible and mature way, a very, I don't know, say alpha male, but just, being an independent, but not a bloviating, arrogant man. Again, I wish Bernard Chapin was still on the interwebs. I don't believe he's out there anymore. He used to have a good podcast called Chapin's Inferno. Well, anyway, I think when we look at the MGTOW issue, first and foremost, we do have to frame it within our Catholic understanding of vocation. I believe when we do that, we do run into some problems. So we have primary vocations and secondary vocations. MGTOW seems to be some kind of a way of doing the secondary ones. Primary vocation, of course, is the universal call to holiness. Everybody alive has that in them, whether you're Catholic or not, baptized or not, heathen or not. But then when you get to the secondary vocations, that's referring to what you do with your state in life. So when you start off as a kid and maybe your whole life, you end up in what's called a single state. The MGTOW guys are staying in that. We'll come back to that in a second, but just a quick glance in case people don't know. There are other states in life like, going and becoming a priest, getting married, or consecrating yourself to the church directly as a consecrated religious, where you'll be basically the bride of the church. The MGTOWs, they don't do any of that stuff, except they just stick with the single life. Some of them do live perhaps a more or less celibate lifestyle, kind of like consecrated religious. A lot of them, they don't. If they could, some of them are what you would call involuntary celibate too. That's a whole nother can of worms. These are folks that they're just stuck where they are because of their loser habits, unable to aspire to the married status, probably not fit to be priests. If they could, I think they would go and become pickup artists and, have wanton sex just like the alpha chads out there. That's a whole nother can of worms. See, you have so many different little variations on the way men in particular are approaching their lives these days that it's not hard to see how big of a mess things have gotten. In the old days, you either became a monk, you became a priest, you got married, or sad to say, you probably died in conflict or died during childhood. These days, with everything as weird as it is, with so much abundance, nobody's dying from disease or war, including that stupid corona garbage, mixed in with a lot of weird social and political stuff. We got a lot of guys sitting around that do not have any aim and particular focus in their life. I think that's kind of where a lot of this MGTOW stuff has come from. Now, again, there's folks like Bernard Chapin who I believe, all right, late in life they kind of came to it and realized, all right, this is what you're going to have to do to and move forward in as sensible and intelligent of a fashion as you can. A lot of them, I don't believe, do that, though. A lot of the MGTOWs do not follow in the path of Bernard Chapin. There's another category of these guys that Aaron Clarey calls the virgin TOWs. That's a term only he's used, and he's used it to criticize these guys pretty hard. It's kind of along the lines of involuntary celibate. And so it's not like these dudes tried really hard at life. They didn't pursue their vocation, as I mentioned. Remember, there's that term again. They didn't pursue it when they were young. Instead, played video games a lot, watched porn a lot, didn't hit the gym. They've allowed their brains and their physiques and everything else about them to atrophy to the point where, yeah, again, they're permanent virgins. They can't do anything. They may as well have become eunuchs. But at least a eunuch had a function back, in ancient times. These guys don't have much to offer. These are the folks who, I believe, have co-opted this MGTOW term the most. Now, not the only ones, but the most. These virgin TOWs, it's just another flavor of involuntary celibacy. Something about these guys, too, and this is something Catholics should definitely stay away from, but be aware of it because it's on the horizon. It's already in the making. You can go on YouTube and find it, and that's the proliferation of these sex robots. That's a big deal for these incel types who, well, like I said, they're not going to get what they want. You know what they want, so they're going to latch on to these sex robots. And as we know, the powers that be, who seek a more or less docile population, are going to be more than happy to give it to them. Just like they're going to be more than happy to appease them and sedate them with UBI. It's the same as the porn, the video games, and cheap food and all that. Just keep these guys docile. Don't let them get riled up. For heaven's sake, some of them that get riled up might even go postal or go shoot up the mall or a hotel or something. That's where some of those mass shooters have come from, these wigged out, whacked out virgin TOW types, as Aaron Clarey would call them. So this is what we mean by the MGTOW approach. Catholics and any good man of will, you definitely have to stay away from that. I've talked mostly about men so far. Let's see what this might mean for women as well. Is there a female version? Is there a WGTOW? WGTOW? Women going their own way? In a sense, yes. It's a little different. It's a little weirder. Well, it's all weird. This is where women might end up as the cat ladies, the careerists, the environmentalists, the vegans, the whatever it is that when women don't become consecrated religious or enter into a family, a lot of them really do they turn whatever their occupation is into a religion and an idol. I think that's kind of a WGTOW, women going their own way, but they won't appear to be going their own way the same way a guy would. When a guy goes MGTOW, they really do kind of go off the grid. You're not going to see them as functioning members of society the same way. They're going to more or less become MGTOW monks, so to speak. Women, if they do this, you're going to still see them. They're going to be the high-powered nonprofit director or maybe even a corporate executive. Society lately has been favoring women into these roles. So while the MGTOW guy, the virgin TOW, he's going to appear to be very desperate looking and homely and something akin to Quasimodo, your female version probably will still there'll be an attractive woman that probably could have been a wife. They just didn't feel like it. They just, they weren't trained to see that as being very valuable. They were indoctrinated into the exact opposite. In a sense, you might consider that women going their own way. Don't think that's going to get any traction as an actual idea or concept. Yeah, I don't think there's very many women that would acknowledge or co-opt that term. But now that I've described it a little bit, and I hate to say most of this, as it appears to be going against God's way, appears to be something that's incongruent with Christianity and and particularly the Catholic faith. Can a Catholic go MGTOW? Probably not, given the way it is most commonly approached. I believe perhaps if you are, let's say, a 50-year-old guy, let's say, you're someone like Bernard Chapin or some of the older guys who in the past they made mistakes and wasted time with the pickup artistry and some of the other stuff, or they just gotten beaten up living in left-wing urban hellholes, that sort of thing. They've been around really poisonous women, haven't gotten maybe the fairest chance in the world at a family, that sort of thing. There's a way I think you can live a more or less quiet, peaceful, mature, quote-unquote MGTOW lifestyle. But really, this is just what you do if you don't get married in a timely manner, if you don't become a priest in a timely manner. Because there's a clock on that. Like, realistically, once you hit 30, certainly by the time you hit 40, your chances as a guy of becoming a priest or even a monk are pretty slim. Those places, the good ones don't want you after 35. Some of them don't want you after 25, because it really is something that you should figure out when you're younger. The older you are, forget it. You will be that dog who can't learn any new tricks. That's not to, down anybody. Again, if you're 60 years old, if you find yourself in the single state, okay, it is what it is. Maybe your spouse died. Maybe you got divorced, raped. That's pretty common. A de facto, quote-unquote, MGTOW might be the reasonable approach. Either way, as a Catholic, it doesn't really matter. We're all called to chastity. It looks a little different based on state and life. As a single person, up until you get married, if you do, it's celibacy. There's no other alternative. There's no sex robots, certainly no porn and masturbation. These rules are pretty clear. MGTOW or not, whatever you want to call it, if you end up being, somebody that's 50 or 60 is never going to get married, you're going to be, quote-unquote, alone at the end of your life, and that's not really what it is. If you find yourself in the single state later in life, look, it's simple. You just got the same rules as a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old. Chastity, and by chastity for somebody in the single state, it is celibacy. Now, the good news is it won't kill you. You won't explode. Meditate, pray, do all the things we're supposed to do as Catholics. And if you're not Catholic, well, become Catholic. Or, it's kind of the same thing. Pray, meditate, and self-discipline yourself. To me, it's just not that complicated. Bottom line, good advice. I'm not the only one that says this. Tim Gordon says the same thing. Figure out your vocation before 25. No later than 30. That's all I got, guys. So hope you enjoyed my little Catholic MGTOW show. If you enjoy this, I hope you would check out my book, Caesar Vacantism, Rendering to Caesar When Caesar Goes Nuts. That's on Amazon. Please subscribe to the podcast. Please subscribe. Always happy to see you again. And cue the music.